Greetings, we'll cover a few details about Douglas MacArthur and his life in a succinct manner. Here is a short rundown of his early years, education, career, persona, major conflicts, accolades, legacy and demise. General of the Army, for the United States and Field Marshal, for the Philippine Army, Douglas MacArthur was a distinguished American military figure. He served as the U.S. Army's Chief of Staff in the 1930s, and during World War II, he was a key figure in the Pacific Theater. Known as Douglas MacArthur, famous as American military leader. Born January 26, 1880, MacArthur Museum of Arkansas Military History, Little Rock, Arkansas, United States. Died April 5, 1964, Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Bethesda. Father, Arthur MacArthur Jr. Mother, Mary Pinckney Hardy MacArthur. Siblings, Malcolm MacArthur, Arthur MacArthur III. Spouses, Jean MacArthur, Henrietta Louise Cromwell Brooke MacArthur. Children, Arthur. Education, United States Military Academy. Arthur MacArthur Jr., an Army captain, and Mary Pinckney Hardy MacArthur, welcomed Douglas into the world at Little Rock, Arkansas, in the United States. His older siblings included two. His family moved to Washington, D.C., in 1889, and he enrolled at the Force Public School there. 4 years later, his father enrolled in the West Texas Military Academy, and was given a job assignment in San Antonio, Texas. He enrolled in the United States Military Academy at West Point on June 13, 1899, and upon graduation with honors, he was among the top-ranking cadets there. He was appointed as a subordinate officer in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in October 1903. As a member of the 3rd Engineer Battalion, he was dispatched to the Philippines. He quickly attained the rank of 2nd lieutenant. While conducting a survey in Bataan, Philippines, in 1904, he became ill with malaria and Dobie itch, which forced him to leave his post. Later, he relocated to San Francisco and was given a position with the California Debris Commission. He was chosen to serve as the Division of the Pacific's chief engineer in 1905. He received a directive to go to Tokyo in October of that same year to serve as his father's aide-de-camp. He was instructed to report to the 2nd Engineer Battalion at the Washington Barracks in September 1906. He was posted to Fort Leavenworth in 1908, and given initial command of Company K, 3rd Engineer Battalion. He rose through the ranks to battalion adjutant over the following 2 years, then engineer officer. He was made a captain in 1911, and appointed director of the Military Engineering Department and Field Engineer School. In addition to serving in Panama, he took part in military activities in San Antonio, Texas. He was a key figure in the American takeover of Veracruz, Mexico, in 1914. He was one of the candidates for the Medal of Honor for his tireless contributions, but he was not awarded it. He received his promotion to the rank of major on December 11, 1915. He was given the position of head of the Information Bureau at the Secretary of War's office the following year. He federalized the Louisiana National Guard to create the 42nd Infantry Division, also known as Rainbow, in 1917 after war was declared with Germany. He served as the unit's colonel and chief of staff. He was given a promotion to brigadier general in 1918, at which point he oversaw the 84th Infantry Brigade. During the Champagne-Marne, Saint-Mihiel, Meuse-Argonne, and Sedan offensives, he demonstrated his military leadership skills. He was chosen to serve as the superintendent of the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1919. He was there for 3 years, during which time he made numerous reform recommendations. He was in charge of the 23rd Infantry Brigade of the Philippine Division in June 1923, and by resolving their issues, he was instrumental in putting an end to the Philippine Scout Mutiny. He was the youngest Major General in the Army when he took command of the 4 Corps area in 1925, but because he was the son of a Union Army officer, he faced discrimination. After being removed from his position, he went on to command the 3 Corps region. He was chosen to lead the American Olympic Committee, and his job included organizing the American team's participation in the 1928 Summer Olympics in Amsterdam. He received a general's appointment in 1930 to serve as the U.S. Army's Chief of Staff. During the Great Depression, he created new mobilization strategies and drove out the Bonus Army, a group of war veterans who wanted money in exchange for their service records. He was appointed Field Marshal by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1935 and dispatched to the Philippines as a military advisor. The creation of a defensive military force was requested by Manuel Quezon, the President of the Philippines. When the Philippine Army was federalized in 1941, he was told to report back for duty. He oversaw American forces in the Pacific. However, MacArthur-led forces were pushed outside the Philippines as a result of a Japanese invasion. After that, he carried out a number of effective offensive operations against the Japanese troops. He relocated to Australia in 1942, where he served as the Supreme Commander for the Southwest Pacific area. The United States and the Empire of Japan continued to fight each other in the Pacific War. He acted as the Supreme Commander for the Allied powers in 1945, following Japan's capitulation. He served as Japan's interim leader and contributed to its restoration. He was given command of the United Nations Command Forces in 1950, following North Korea's invasion of South Korea. He was forced to retreat because he failed to anticipate Chinese attacks during this time. He was relieved of his command by President Harry S. Truman in April 1951, after the two argued about wartime strategies. He had publicly debunked official statements on numerous occasions. President Truman was not pleased by this. He wed socialite and rich heiress, Louise Cromwell Brooks, on February 14, 1922. They split up in 1929. He wed Jean Faircloth, his second spouse, in 1937. The following year, they welcomed Arthur as a son. He was appointed chairman of the board of Remington Rand, after being discharged from the United States Army. Later in life, he took a leading role in American Olympic activities. He served as a brigadier general on the Western Front during World War I. He received recognition for his outstanding achievements, and was thereafter appointed as the 42nd Rainbow Division's Chief of Staff. He was crucial to the Pacific War during World War II. He took over the occupation of Japan, and was in charge of the Allied forces in the Southwest Pacific. He was awarded a gold medal at the West Texas Military Academy for scholarship and deportment. He was a winner of the Silver Star, Navy Distinguished Service Medal, Army Distinguished Service Medal, and Medal of Honor. He was given the Sylvanus Thayer Award in 1962, in recognition of his outstanding service to the country. The MacArthur Museum is located on the 8th floor of the MacArthur Chambers in Brisbane, Australia, where MacArthur held his office. Most South Koreans view MacArthur as a hero, who twice saved the nation, once in 1945 and again in 1950. A statue of MacArthur was lifted in the city of Incheon in 1957, and it is seen as a representation of patriotism. He passed away at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C., at the age of 84 from biliary cirrhosis. He had a state funeral before being buried in the Norfolk, Virginia, Douglas MacArthur Memorial's Rotunda.